Hello, TV Land, Laura Ward with a meditation class, an embodied meditation class. So the whole idea is that when we really feel into our bodies, we can be present in a very different way in the world. So the invitation today is to tune into your interoception, to feel the growing and shrinking of your breath in your body. So as you inhale, the whole thing's getting a little bigger. As you exhale, you're coming back into yourself. You could also think of inhaling, opening into space, and exhaling, coming into that space. So there's this sense of expansion. And then just releasing and softening into yourself. Sometimes we need to exhale for a really long time to let go of the stuff. Sometimes we need to take a really deep breath as well. So just allowing ourselves to come into our breath right now, feeling into what we need, feeling into our own body, feeling into our own processes. So interoception is your sensation of basically being alive inside your body. So maybe you can feel your heartbeat. Maybe you can feel the movement of your breath. So I want to invite in this exploration that the movement of your breath is very dynamic. It's not just doing one thing. It's not just, I breathe a certain way. We're offering it this freedom and this free flow. And the invitation is to arrive in yourself, to receive yourself in a generous, compassionate, forgiving way. So it's non-judgmental. You're not there to do it wrong or right. You're just there to be in yourself. We'll take a couple of big, deep sighs. We can do the big double sniff. Making some sound on the exhale. Letting out any of the detritus, any of the stickiness. And I want to invite today just micro movement into this exploration. So I'm going to stay fairly still, but I'm going to invite the movement of my spine, just little tiny, as if you're like a tree blowing gently in the wind. The movement of my rib cage, lungs, my diaphragm, breathing all the way down into my organs. And tuning into what it feels like inside my body. With the idea and the awareness that the body is your body, my body, are constantly moving internally. They're in this flux and flow at all times anyway. So I want to tune into that sensation of being in that fluid, open space of being. And I'm open and present for anything that arises. And what I'm going to tune into is the sensation of this micro movement, the micro movement of breath, micro movement of my spine, maybe even micro movement of my face as I free up my pattern of being me. So in a sense, I'm allowing my nervous system to unwind. And I'm inviting myself and my awareness into presence with my physical body, with being in this dynamic experience of being human. So I think I'm going to offer that we start with this, or we continue with this coherent breathing, which means we're going to inhale for the same amount of time that we exhale. And it is a way, and some say the fastest way, to tune and balance your autonomic nervous system. So the parasympathetic fight, the rest and digest, soothe and settle, and the sympathetic fight, flight, freeze. So the coherent breathing, I'm not going to count it for you, but it would be inhale for 5 counts, exhale for 5 counts. If you're more amped up, maybe it's inhale for 4, exhale for 4. If you're very relaxed, maybe it's inhale for 6, exhale for 6. When I do the coherent breathing myself, coherent breathing, I tune into my heartbeat. And so I'm counting along. And I usually go with 5 or 6. So I'm going to let you count on your own, and I'm going to stop. And I'm going to stop talking in a minute. If stories come up, if the narrative of your day comes up, just let it pass by like a movie on a screen. You don't need to grab onto it. If emotional stuff comes up and you need to let it process, just let it process through. Again, trying not to grab onto it. If your creative soul comes to life and you need to write something down and then come back into the breathing. So we'll do the coherent breathing for a few minutes. Let's go for 3 minutes of that. And then I'm going to direct a little bit more. So just coming into that count. Just going to offer this idea that if it's possible and if it feels okay, start to breathe a little bit lighter. You can still take the same amount of time, but you're just not taking in quite so much of a breath, not such a big one. Just see if you can soften, if that feels comfortable. So I'm going to offer us something kind of different today. And that is that we can start to tune into the diaphragms of the body. So we have the cerebellum tentorum in here. It's kind of like a little tent that's separating the upper and lower halves, upper brain and lower. We have our actual diaphragm. We have our pelvic floor. We have sort of diaphragms in the palms of our hands and the soles of our feet. So I want to think of just tuning into those. And we can think that our diaphragm in the middle of our body is not like this. It's kind of on an angle, like a rib cage, the front to the bottom. Tuning into the aliveness of that tissue. It's very elastic fascia. It's very elastic connective tissue. And it's also very hydrated. So tuning into the sense of this alive, hydrated tissue that's supporting the structures of your body. There's also like your pia mater and your dura mater. And these are like these big sheaths, balloon-like sheaths that are supporting your cranium and your brain. So thinking of these big balloon-like fascial structures and tuning into their support as they're holding you. And we could almost say that a lot of them are kind of supporting sort of in the horizontal plane. So sort of through the horizon, but they can be on inclines, and then they can be like doming like umbrellas and balloons. But tuning into that sort of spacious quality that has like almost like a jellyfish, like this capacity to go up and to widen, and just tuning into that sensation. Allowing your breath to go any way that feels interesting, and tuning into these sort of diaphragm structures, these big balloon-like fascia structures that are alive. And as we're tuning into them, just imagining that they're very hydrated, very lubricated, very easy, supporting, deeply, deeply supporting our being, the structure of our being. So whenever we start to bring awareness into our body, it sort of shifts the aliveness. As I come into this brain separator, I can just think of it being very easy and soft, very gentle, and also very strong. Feeling that. Supporting my brain, supporting my being. And as I come into that sense of support, I think, oh, I can relax my jaw. I can relax my tongue. I can feel my whole body shifting into my back space. I can soften into myself. Maybe find some micro movement, imagining gentleness in this pia mater and dura mater supporting my brain. What is it? The cerebellum, it's the cerebri tentorum, cerebellum tentorum. I'm saying it all wrong, but I can completely picture it in there. If I pull on my ears, I'm pulling down on the angles of that tent. Feeling down towards the diaphragm, letting that be very juicy and fluid, not sticking to my liver, not sticking to my pancreas, my stomach, my organs. Am I even saying that right? Is it my pancreas that it might stick to? It doesn't matter. Just finding fluidity in there. No need to be perfect. And from that, bringing it down to this pelvic floor area, the basin, the soft tissue that's supporting the inside of my pelvis. And bringing some life and some energy, particularly down there, right? Maybe a little bit of movement in your pelvis. Softening into that area, a little bit of wiggling, a little bit of mobility, bringing some awareness. Culturally, we can become very inhibited in our pelvis, very censored. So let's sort of wake it back up, bring it online. Yes, we need some health down there. We need some health in our perineum, in our reproductive organs, in our sexual organs. So bringing the idea of hydration and fluidity into that pelvic area. Letting our breath take us all the way down there. So as the diaphragm descends, as we breathe deeply, our organs can be soft and squish down. Fluid movement in our intestines, fluid movement in our whole gut body, from our tongue to our tail. Softening in there, adding a little bit of micro movement if that feels good. Inviting the participation of your awareness and your fluid system. Yummy. Deep self-acceptance, deep forgiveness, deep compassion, deep permission to be. Breathing into and allowing our bodies to soften, to become easier, to become more alive, to become more resilient. Breathing into the inner space and expanding that inner space, and then letting us soften on the exhale into it. Inviting in micro movement in the interests of enlivening our bodies, enlivening our tissues, enlivening our cells. Health and coherence through our body. And then tuning into the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. We connect to so many things through our hands and feet. Connecting to the ground through our feet when we're walking. Connecting to everything we touch through our hands. Connecting to the people we know. Softening into that. Softening our connections. Feeling the warmth of the palms of our hands or the warmth of our feet, or maybe it's the coldness you feel. Feeling the temperature of your hands and feet. Maybe a little tiny wiggling in the fingers and toes, so tiny it's almost imperceptible. Playing with micro movement. Micro movement to bring in life force, aliveness, awareness, connection. Soft and easy. And let's go back to the breaths just for a couple of minutes, just feeling into that. What tempo do you want to breathe in and exhale at? Just finding a count that feels good for you. And if counting feels annoying, don't do it. Just breathe. Noticing where your awareness wants to rest as you're in your breath practice. Where does your awareness want to land? Can it land in there like resting in a hammock? Or is it charging around, doing all sorts of things? Offering your awareness an opportunity for easiness. Softening. So I think I'm going to bring us back. TV land people, feel free to stay there, blink out to anybody who needs to, and I'm going to stop recording. But while you're in this very deep state, please like and subscribe. Maybe support me on Patreon.